In 1991, Michael Talbot published the book The Holographic Universe, revealing the idea that reality is an illusion. In 1992, he died prematurely at the age of 38. Then, in 1994, Jacobo Grinberg, a Mexican neurophysiologist, psychologist, and the discoverer of the neuronal field, mysteriously disappeared. What you call a coincidence is actually your mind co-creating reality. Talbot demonstrated that we live in a holographic reality where every thought is instantly connected to the cosmic whole. In parallel, Grinberg discovered the neuronal field, an invisible network linking all consciousness, allowing your mind to influence external events through synchronicities directly. When you think of someone and they suddenly call you, when you dream about something that later happens, when answers appear at just the right moment, that's not chance. It's proof that you're actively participating in a cosmic conspiracy operating through your individual consciousness. For decades, systems of power have kept you disconnected from these groundbreaking discoveries. Two of the most important researchers who uncovered how this spiritual technology works met fates that raise serious questions. Now, for the first time, the revolutionary theories of both are being combined to reveal exactly how to use synchronicities consciously and take full control of your experience.
Your coincidences are secret codes you've been programmed to ignore. They're evidence of a cosmic conspiracy operating through your consciousness, and you've been programmed to disregard them. For decades, educational and religious systems have shaped minds to dismiss as mere chance what represents the most direct manifestation of the invisible connection between thought and reality. When you think intensely about someone and that person shows up unexpectedly, it's not a coincidence. When you dream about situations that materialize days later, it's not a mystical premonition. It's your mind operating in a dimension of existence that traditional science deliberately avoids investigating. Have you ever experienced that disturbing moment when you turn on the radio and hear exactly the words you needed to hear? Or when you open a book to a page that contains the answer to a question that's been tormenting you? These events aren't mystical rarities reserved for special individuals. They're the universe's constant language trying to communicate through what we call synchronicities. But here's the problem. You've been conditioned to classify these experiences as interesting coincidences and move on, completely missing the opportunity to understand how the most powerful mechanism for creating reality available to human beings works. Synchronicities reveal your nature as an active co-creator of the experience you call life, not as a passive victim of random circumstances, but as a conscious participant in a cosmic dance where thoughts, emotions, and intentions directly influence the fabric of material reality. This video abandons the romantic approach of universe signs. It focuses on scientific evidence combined with practical methods that allow you to transform from a simple observer to a conscious director of your own experience. Why do other materials about synchronicity fail to produce practical results? Because they approach the phenomenon as a philosophical curiosity, not as operational spiritual technology. They treat symptoms, not causes. They describe experiences, not mechanisms. Pioneering scientists like Jacobo Grinberg documented irrefutable evidence that individual consciousness connects directly with the quantum field of reality through what he called the neuronal field. Michael Talbot demonstrated how we live in a holographic reality where each fragment contains information about the whole, scientifically explaining why localized thoughts manifest as globally synchronized events. These discoveries remained marginalized not for lack of scientific rigor, but because they reveal truths that question the foundations of social control based on the belief that individuals are powerless before circumstances. You have direct access to a cosmic navigation system that constantly offers guidance through symbols, repeating numbers, apparently casual encounters, and sudden insights. You can adjust your emotional frequency to attract specific synchronicities, transforming obstacles into opportunities and confusion into clarity. You don't need to believe in anything supernatural. You just need to recognize that you constantly operate at a level of reality that transcends common sensory perception. Each thought generates waves that propagate through the invisible fabric of existence, creating resonance with external events that reflect back as confirmations, warnings, or directions. The question isn't whether synchronicities exist. You already know they exist because you experience them regularly. The question is whether you'll continue ignoring this cosmic language or learn to decipher and use it consciously. Educational systems teach that thoughts are isolated brain processes without impact on external reality. Traditional religions insist that miracles are rare divine interventions, not natural capacities accessible through proper understanding. Materialist science rejects any connection between consciousness and physical events as primitive superstition. All these perspectives converge on one point: keeping you disconnected from the real power you possess as a conscious co-creator of reality. What we'll reveal here breaks this programming by showing exactly how your mind generates synchronicities, how to interpret universal symbolic language, and how to adjust your frequency to manifest events aligned with your highest purposes. We don't offer consoling theories, but practical tools to transform understanding into personal power. Prepare to discover that everything you considered a coincidence was, in fact, evidence of a cosmic intelligence operating through your individual consciousness. Carl Jung discovered the concept of synchronicity by accident while treating an obsessive patient who refused to accept his interpretations. During a tense session, she was describing a dream about a golden scarab, when suddenly, a real beetle hit the office window. Jung opened the window, captured the insect, and said, "Here's your scarab." The patient finally understood that forces beyond rational logic operated in her life. This seemingly trivial moment in 1920 revolutionized human understanding of how consciousness and reality interact. Jung realized he had discovered a fundamental principle of existence that Western science systematically ignored: meaningful connections between internal and external events that don't follow linear causality. But Jung had only scratched the surface of something much deeper and more disturbing. Decades later, in Mexico, Jacobo Grinberg was conducting experiments that would make any materialist question their most basic convictions. In rigorously controlled laboratories, Grinberg demonstrated that two people in separate rooms, without any physical communication, could directly influence each other's brainwave patterns. When one person received visual stimuli, the other showed identical neural activity instantaneously. Grinberg called this discovery the neuronal field, an invisible network connecting all consciousness, allowing thoughts and emotions from one individual to directly affect material reality around them and other human beings' experiences. It wasn't telepathy in the traditional mystical sense, but scientific evidence that consciousness operates through dimensions of reality that transcend conventional space and time. The scientific community reacted with predictable hostility. Grinberg was ridiculed, his funding cut, his research marginalized. In 1994, he mysteriously disappeared, leaving only enigmatic clues about discoveries that certain people didn't want made public. Meanwhile, in the United States, Michael Talbot was developing an even more radical theory. We live in a holographic reality where each part contains complete information about the whole. Just as any fragment of a hologram reproduces the entire image, each individual thought instantly connects with the totality of human experience. Talbot demonstrated that synchronicities aren't rare phenomena, but constant evidence that we inhabit a universe where the separation between internal and external is a perceptual illusion. Each emotion, each intention, each belief operates as a wave, propagating through the holographic fabric of reality, manifesting as synchronized events that reflect back the content of individual consciousness. These discoveries converge on a disturbing conclusion. You've never been a passive observer of reality. You've been an active co-creator of every experience, every encounter, every coincidence that shaped your existence. Educational and religious systems keep you ignorant of this truth because individuals conscious of their creative power become impossible to control. Why did ancient cultures perfectly understand these principles while modern civilization rejects them as superstition? Siberian shamans consciously navigated through synchronicities to locate resources, heal diseases, and guide communities. Hindu mystics use specific techniques to align with what they call Dharma, the natural flow of synchronized events that lead to fulfilling individual purpose. Western esoteric traditions preserved fragments of this knowledge through hermetic symbols, but the democratization of this information has always been carefully controlled by institutions that depend on popular ignorance to maintain power. Modern quantum physics inadvertently validated these ancient understandings. Experiments with entangled particles demonstrate that elements of reality respond instantaneously to changes in their partners, regardless of the distance separating them. Heisenberg proved that the observer directly influences the behavior of observed matter. Bohm proposed that the universe operates as an indivisible totality, where each part immediately affects all others. But quantum physicists make the same mistake as Jung. They treat these discoveries as scientific curiosities instead of recognizing them as keys to understanding how human consciousness works in practice. Here emerges the conspiratorial pattern. Every time researchers approach scientifically demonstrating the creative power of individual consciousness, their research is discredited, their funding cut, or they themselves mysteriously disappear like Grinberg. Why? Because discovering that you co-create your reality through synchronicities means you don't need external authorities to guide your life. You don't need experts to interpret your dreams, gurus to decipher cosmic signs, or institutions to validate your spiritual experiences. Synchronicities are direct language between you and the organizing intelligence of the universe. When you master this language, you become your own oracle, your own spiritual guide, your own architect of reality. Social control systems depend on individuals who feel powerless before circumstances. People conscious of their synchronistic power become immune to manipulation because they navigate life through direct cosmic guidance instead of cultural programming. Now you understand why this knowledge remains hidden. Your mind isn't confined within your skull. It extends through the invisible fabric of reality, creating waves that manifest as synchronized events around you. This statement challenges everything you've learned about how human consciousness works. Educational systems insist that thoughts are mere isolated neurochemical processes confined to the individual brain. Conventional neuroscience treats consciousness as a byproduct of brain activity, without any capacity to influence external events. Scientific materialism categorically rejects any connection between mental states and physical manifestations. All these perspectives are fundamentally wrong. Jacobo Grinberg discovered that the human brain functions as a transmitting and receiving antenna operating on a specific frequency he called the neuronal field. Each thought, each emotion, each intention generates wave patterns that propagate through this invisible network, creating interferences and resonances that manifest as synchronized events in material reality. When you think intensely about a specific person, your mind isn't just processing internal memories. It's transmitting information through the neuronal field that can directly influence that person's consciousness, creating impulses for them to contact you. What you call coincidence, when they phone minutes later, is actually evidence of direct communication between consciousnesses through non-physical dimensions of reality. But the mechanism operates in an even more sophisticated way. Your mind doesn't just transmit information, it literally co-creates synchronized events through what Michael Talbot identified as the holographic structure of reality. Each thought contains complete information about the totality of your experience, instantly propagating through the cosmic fabric and manifesting as external situations that perfectly reflect your internal state. Consider how this works practically. When you nurture feelings of genuine gratitude, your mental frequency resonates with aspects of reality that correspond to that vibration. Generous people appear in your life, beneficial opportunities arise unexpectedly, and solutions to problems manifest in apparently magical ways. It's not the law of attraction in the popularized superficial sense. It's the direct operation of individual consciousness in the quantum field of reality. The reverse is also true, but more disturbingly. When you feed anxiety, fear, or resentment, these emotional states propagate through the neuronal field, attracting situations that validate and amplify these negative frequencies. Toxic people appear in your life, obstacles multiply, and conflicts emerge apparently from nowhere. You're not being punished for thinking negatively. You're co-creating experiences that correspond to your predominant energetic signature. Grinberg's most revolutionary discovery was demonstrating that this process operates completely outside conscious control for most people. You're constantly transmitting and receiving information through the neuronal field, co-creating synchronicities that shape your experience, but you remain unconscious of the mechanism because you've been programmed to ignore this dimension of reality. Here lies the secret that transforms knowledge into power. When you become conscious of this process, you can direct it intentionally. Instead of being a victim of random synchronicities generated by unconscious mental states, you can deliberately adjust your emotional frequency to manifest specific events aligned with your highest objectives. Talbot identified that holographic reality responds not just to the content of your thoughts, but to the quality of your attention. When you consciously focus on a specific intention with emotional clarity, this information propagates through the cosmic hologram with amplified intensity, creating more frequent and precise synchronicities. But there's a crucial condition. The mechanism only works when you operate from elevated states of consciousness. Attempts to manipulate synchronicities through selfish desires or disguised fears produce distorted or counterproductive results. The neuronal field responds to authenticity, not manipulation. This explains why superficial manifestation techniques systematically fail. It's not enough to repeat affirmations or visualize material goals. You need to elevate your emotional frequency to genuine states of love, gratitude, compassion, and spiritual purpose. Only from these elevated frequencies can you access the full creative power of individual consciousness. When you master this process, each day becomes conscious navigation through synchronicities. You recognize signs, interpret symbols, and follow intuitions that lead to perfect encounters, ideal opportunities, and elegant solutions. Life stops being a struggle against adverse circumstances and becomes a harmonious dance with the organizing intelligence of the universe. Your mind is a direct portal to creative dimensions of reality. Synchronicities are evidence that you've always been an active co-creator of your experience, not a passive victim of external forces. There are 3 fundamental pillars that determine whether you'll remain a slave to circumstances or become a conscious architect of reality through synchronicities. Mastering these pillars means transcending the social programming that keeps billions of people trapped in an existence of unconscious reactivity. First pillar, the energetic signature that shapes your reality. Everything in the universe vibrates at a specific frequency, from subatomic particles to entire galaxies. You're no exception. Each thought, each emotion, each intention generates a unique energetic signature that propagates through the neuronal field, directly influencing the events that manifest around you. But here's what no one taught you. Your personal frequency isn't determined by your surface thoughts or mechanically repeated affirmations. It's shaped by the predominant emotional quality you carry at the deepest level of consciousness. This fundamental frequency operates as a cosmic magnet, attracting situations, people, and opportunities that resonate with your dominant vibration. High-frequency states, genuine joy, deep gratitude, unconditional love, mental clarity, create energy fields that attract constructive synchronicities. When you consistently operate at these elevated frequencies, the universe responds with a cascade of perfectly coordinated events, fortuitous encounters that lead to ideal opportunities, solutions that appear at the exact moment, and the right people emerging when you need them most. Grinberg documented that individuals in deep meditation states demonstrated brainwave patterns that directly influenced the physical environment around them. Plants grew faster, electronic devices functioned anomalously, and other people reported sudden insights without logical explanation. It wasn't paranormal. It was scientific evidence that elevated frequencies of consciousness literally alter the structure of material reality. But low-frequency states, chronic fear, persistent anxiety, deep resentment, hopelessness, operate as inverted magnetic fields, attracting destructive synchronicities. Toxic people repeatedly appear in your life, obstacles multiply without apparent reason, and conflicts emerge from apparently harmonious situations. You're not being punished by the universe. You're co-creating experiences that correspond to your predominant energetic signature. Grinberg's most disturbing discovery was that most people operate at low frequencies during 80% of conscious time, unconsciously creating realities dominated by stress, conflict, and limitation. Modern social systems are specifically designed to maintain individuals in states of constant anxiety through alarming news, economic pressures, and artificial competition. When you learn to consciously elevate your personal frequency through specific techniques, controlled breathing, focused meditation, cultivation of genuine gratitude, you can radically transform the synchronistic patterns that govern your existence. Instead of passively reacting to external events, you become the conscious generator of the experiences you wish to live. Second pillar, the invisible program that blocks your perception. From the moment you're born, social systems operate subtly to disconnect you from your natural ability to recognize and interpret synchronicities. This conditioning happens at such a deep and persistent level that most people never realize they've been programmed to ignore the universe's most direct language. Educational systems teach that thoughts are isolated brain processes without any impact on external reality. Any child who reports synchronistic experiences, prophetic dreams, precise intuitions, telepathic connections, is quickly corrected by adults who insist such experiences are imagination or coincidence. Gradually, the child learns to dismiss these natural perceptions to conform to social expectations. Organized religions perpetuate this conditioning even more insidiously. They teach that miracles and synchronicities are rare privileges granted by deities to special individuals, not natural capacities accessible to all human beings. This doctrine creates dependence on religious authorities to interpret spiritual experiences, disconnecting individuals from direct cosmic guidance. Materialist science completes the conditioning process by categorically rejecting any connection between consciousness and physical events. Researchers like Grinberg, who present scientific evidence of synchronicities, are systematically marginalized, their discoveries ridiculed, and their funding cut. The mainstream scientific community operates as an ideological filter, ensuring that only theories supporting the materialist worldview receive official validation. Corporate media amplifies this conditioning by constantly bombarding individuals with narratives of powerlessness, fear, and separation. News focuses exclusively on conflicts, disasters, and unsolvable problems, maintaining people in anxiety, states that completely block synchronicity perception. Entertainment glorifies materialism, competition, and instant gratification, diverting attention from the spiritual dimensions of existence. Talbot identified that this social conditioning functions as a collective perceptual filter, creating a consensus reality where synchronicities are automatically dismissed as insignificant coincidences. Individuals who question this programming face social ostracism, being labeled as lunatics, mystics, or conspiracy theorists. But here's the secret that control systems don't want you to discover. The more conscious you become of this conditioning, the less power it has over your perception. When you recognize that you've been programmed to ignore synchronicities, you can deliberately reverse this programming, recovering your natural ability to recognize and interpret cosmic signs. Breaking this conditioning requires intellectual courage to question fundamental beliefs about the nature of reality. It means accepting that social authorities, educators, scientists, religious leaders may be fundamentally wrong about how human consciousness works. It means taking full responsibility for your spiritual experience instead of delegating that responsibility to external experts. Third pillar, deciphering cosmic messages. The universe doesn't communicate through clear words or direct instructions. It uses a sophisticated symbolic language that your unconscious recognizes instantly, but that your rational mind has been programmed to ignore. Mastering this language means having direct access to the cosmic guidance system that constantly offers direction through symbols, numbers, animals, dreams, and sudden insights. Each symbol carries multiple layers of meaning that adapt perfectly to the context of your specific situation. A butterfly might symbolize imminent personal transformation, but it could also represent necessary lightness in a tense situation, or indicate that you're about to emerge from a period of isolation, like the butterfly emerges from the cocoon. Your unconscious automatically decodes the precise meaning relevant to your current moment. Repeating numbers 111, 222, 333, 444 are specific codes indicating different types of cosmic alignment. When you begin noticing these numerical patterns repeatedly, the universe is confirming that you're on the right path or alerting you about necessary adjustments. Grinberg discovered that individuals in elevated states of consciousness reported experiences with synchronized numbers at a frequency 300% higher than the general population. Animals that appear unexpectedly in your life carry specific messages related to the qualities they represent archetypally. Eagles symbolize elevated perspective and clear vision. Wolves represent instinct and natural leadership, and rabbits indicate fertility and new beginnings. When a specific animal appears repeatedly, whether physically, in dreams, or through images, It's transmitting direct guidance about aspects of your personal journey. Dreams are laboratories where your unconscious processes information from the neuronal field and presents symbolic solutions to waking life challenges. Water in dreams reflects emotional states, flying represents freedom from mental limitations, and death symbolizes transformation and renewal. Talbot documented cases where individuals received through dreams specific information about future events that subsequently confirmed with impressive precision. Sudden insights, moments of sudden clarity about complex situations, are direct downloads of information from the neuronal field. When you're relaxed and receptive, your conscious mind can receive complete solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable. These insights aren't products of rational logic, but evidence that you're connected to a cosmic intelligence much broader than your individual consciousness. Mastering the symbolic language requires developing intuition through consistent practice. The more you pay attention to symbols that appear in your life and reflect on their possible meanings, the more refined your interpretation capacity becomes. Gradually, you develop fluid dialogue with the organizing intelligence of the universe, receiving constant guidance through a language that transcends limitations of verbal communication. To consciously use synchronicities means mastering a spiritual technology that radically transforms every area of your existence, from intimate relationships to the most complex professional decisions. But this transformation comes with responsibilities that most people aren't prepared to assume. When you begin operating consciously through synchronicities, superficial relationships based on social convenience or neurotic needs simply dissolve. People who don't resonate with your elevated frequency gradually disappear from your life, not through dramatic conflict, but through natural lack of energetic connection. Simultaneously, individuals aligned with your spiritual evolution begin appearing in apparently magical ways, casual encounters that transform into deep friendships, romantic partners who emerge exactly when you're prepared for authentic love, mentors who offer guidance at the precise moment. This transformation in relationships can be disturbing for people around you who don't understand what's happening. Family members may interpret your changes as personal rejection, old friends may accuse you of spiritual arrogance, and colleagues may feel uncomfortable with your new clarity and purpose. You'll discover that living consciously through synchronicities requires courage to disappoint people who prefer you remain at the previous level of consciousness. In the professional sphere, mastering synchronicities reveals invisible opportunities that go unnoticed by individuals operating through purely rational planning. Projects appear at the exact moment when you need new direction. Profitable investments arise through casual conversations, and strategic partnerships manifest through coincidental encounters. You learn to distinguish between authentic opportunities generated by elevated synchronicities and tempting distractions created by disguised selfish desires. But here lies a subtle danger that can transform this capacity into a spiritual trap: the temptation to use synchronicities to satisfy material ambitions instead of fulfilling elevated spiritual purposes. When you try to manipulate the neuronal field for personal advantages, wealth, status, power over others, the mechanism distorts, producing counterproductive results that amplify exactly the problems you were trying to solve. Grinberg documented cases of individuals who developed the ability to generate synchronicities but used them for selfish purposes, subsequently experiencing a series of negative synchronized events that seemed like cosmic corrections to restore energetic balance. This isn't divine punishment, but a natural consequence of using spiritual technology misaligned with higher principles. The true power of synchronicities manifests when you use them as a navigation system to fulfill your authentic spiritual mission. The unique purpose that only you can accomplish in this existence. Genuine synchronicities always lead to situations that expand your consciousness, develop your spiritual capacities, and allow you to contribute to humanity's collective evolution. When you operate from this elevated perspective, each synchronicity becomes a piece of a larger cosmic puzzle. Apparently, casual encounters reveal themselves as essential connections for spiritual projects. Unexpected obstacles show themselves as necessary redirections, and painful losses transform into releases that create space for more aligned experiences. Applying synchronicities consciously in daily life requires developing subtle sensitivity to distinguish between authentic impulses generated by the neuronal field and neurotic desires created by social programming. Genuine synchronistic impulses arise accompanied by emotional clarity, a sense of purpose, and energetic expansion. Neurotic desires come loaded with anxiety, compulsive urgency, and energetic contraction. Specific practices can amplify your ability to recognize and follow authentic synchronicities. Morning meditation creates mental receptivity for subtle insights. Journaling allows identifying symbolic patterns that repeat in your experience, and periods of contemplative silence facilitate perception of signs that would normally go unnoticed. But the most powerful practice for mastering synchronicities is cultivating states of genuine gratitude for the experiences you already possess. Authentic gratitude elevates your personal frequency to levels where constructive synchronicities manifest naturally. When you deeply appreciate the blessings present in your life, the universe responds by offering experiences even more aligned with your spiritual evolution. The controversies surrounding the topic of synchronicities reveal deep resistances in modern collective consciousness. Scientific materialists reject any connection between consciousness and physical events as primitive magical thinking, without seriously investigating the evidence presented by researchers like Grinberg and Talbot. Fundamentalist religious people condemn synchronicities as demonic work that diverts the faithful from dependence on ecclesiastical authorities. Professional skeptics dismiss synchronistic experiences as confirmation bias or statistically inevitable coincidences. All these resistances converge on one point: keeping individuals disconnected from the creative power inherent in human consciousness. People conscious of their ability to co-create reality through synchronicities find it impossible to control through systems based on fear, scarcity, and external dependence. The most transformative discovery about synchronicities is that they reveal your true nature as a spiritual being temporarily experiencing physical existence, not as a material body occasionally having spiritual experiences. When you recognize that you constantly operate through non-physical dimensions of reality, apparent limitations of the human condition dissolve, revealing unlimited possibilities for growth, contribution, and spiritual fulfillment. Mastering synchronicities consciously means taking full responsibility for your experience, definitely abandoning victimization narratives that keep billions of people trapped in cycles of unnecessary suffering. You become an active architect of your own reality, navigating through existence with direct cosmic guidance instead of inherited cultural programming. This is true spiritual liberation, discovering that you've always been a conscious co-creator of the experience you call life. There's a sense of liberation when we consciously realize that each of us possesses the keys to decipher the universe's most ancient language, a language that has always been present, whispering guidance through every coincidence you dismissed as irrelevant. Remember that 3 fundamental truths completely destroy the illusion that you're a passive victim of circumstances. First, your mind constantly operates through the neuronal field discovered by Grinberg, transmitting and receiving information that manifests as synchronized events. Second, you inhabit a holographic reality where each individual thought instantly connects with cosmic totality, as Talbot demonstrated. Third, social systems have deliberately programmed you to ignore this capacity because individuals conscious of their creative power become impossible to control. These discoveries converge on a revolutionary conclusion. You've never been a neutral observer of reality. You've been an active co-creator of every experience, every encounter, every challenge that shaped your existence. Synchronicities aren't rare phenomena reserved for special mystics. They're constant evidence of your conscious participation in a cosmic dance where thoughts, emotions, and intentions directly influence the fabric of material reality. But mastering this capacity requires transcending the 3 pillars of limitation that keep most people trapped in cycles of unconscious reactivity. First, you must learn to consciously adjust your personal frequency, elevating yourself from states of fear and anxiety to frequencies of gratitude, clarity, and spiritual purpose. Second, you must break the invisible social conditioning that programmed you to dismiss synchronicities as insignificant coincidences. Third, you must master the universal symbolic language through which the cosmos communicates, repeating numbers, specific animals, meaningful dreams, and sudden insights. When you integrate these 3 pillars, radical transformations manifest in every area of existence. Superficial relationships naturally dissolve, while authentic connections appear in what seems like a magical way. Professional opportunities arise through casual encounters that reveal themselves as essential pieces of your spiritual purpose. Apparent obstacles transform into necessary redirections that lead to experiences more aligned with your evolution. But here lies the crucial question that determines whether you'll remain a slave to circumstances or become a conscious architect of reality. Will you have the courage to take full responsibility for your experience, abandoning victimization narratives that offer the false comfort of blaming external forces for undesired results? Accepting that you consciously co-create through synchronicities means recognizing that there are no victims, only unconscious co-creators who generate unwanted experiences through misaligned emotional frequencies. It means abandoning dependence on external authorities to guide your life and developing a direct connection with the organizing intelligence of the universe. This is true spiritual liberation, discovering that you've always been an infinite spiritual being, temporarily experiencing physical limitations to expand consciousness and contribute to humanity's collective evolution. Are you prepared to assume your role as a conscious co-creator of reality? Or will you continue to pretend that synchronicities are merely curious coincidences, while remaining trapped in patterns of unnecessary suffering? The choice is yours, but know that it will determine whether you'll live as a prisoner of social programming or as a conscious navigator of cosmic guidance. All change begins with understanding your role as a co-creator, and the only way to connect with this divine intelligence is through meditation. We've developed a set of audio tools to help you access this higher state of consciousness. To learn more and get immediate access, click the link on screen or in the comments. If this video resonated with you, write in the comments, "It made sense to me,"